Jay Johnson. Secretary Johnson, welcome back. Nice
Chuck, thanks for having me.
You used to be a neighbor right across. We have a nice fence in between us here at the Bureau and the Homeland Security headquarters.
It's quite striking as I drove by in the middle of the week. The parking lot in Homeland Security is empty.
On a Wednesday
Wednesday
here.
at 4 o'clock. It is closed for business. Our nation's Homeland Security headquarters is closed for business.
All right, you've been through shutdowns. You've been through fights about this border. You've been through these back and forths. Now you're an observer. What do you say?
Yes. Well, that's a good question. As a member of the public, as a concerned member of the public, what I see is, in fact, an emerging security crisis, and that is this. We are taking the very people we depend upon for our border security, our port security, our airport security, the people that screen for explosives and guns and luggage on civilian aircraft, our Secret Service, our Coast Guard, those that are out on the high seas interdicting drugs, and we're introducing into their personal lives all sorts of stress, anxiety, and anger because this pay period this week will be missed. And I know this workforce. These people do live paycheck to paycheck, and their families are worried about when, if ever, they're going to be paid in the future. And so this is not the type of workforce you want to mess around with. And the anxiety that they feel now is only going to get worse. And we hear reports about TSA officers staying at home, phoning it in. And that's going to get worse before it gets better, as long as we're telling these people, you must work, but we're not going to pay you.
All right, let's go down to the border. In 2014, during that first influx that we had, where there were, I guess we didn't call them caravans there, but we knew we were getting this migration from Central America. I think you requested extra money for the border, got it, some $4 billion. It's actually, you got more to deal with that than what President Trump is asking for. Democrats, should they agree to the money, just not for the wall here?
Well, it depends on what it's for, obviously. In 2014, well, first of all, illegal migration on our southern border is a fraction of what it used to be. We measure it by apprehensions. The high was 18 years ago, FY 2000. It was 1.6 million apprehensions. The last several years...
That was the top of our economy and pretty much the bottom of the Mexican economy, if I remember.
And the Mexican economy has improved in the last several years through Clinton, Bush, Obama. Multiple administrations, it is a fraction of what it used to be because of the investments we have, the smart investments we've made in border security, and because of the improving economy in Mexico. But the demographic has changed. Instead of it being single adults from Mexico, it is now women and children and families coming from Central America.
So what does this mean? It does seem as if that the tools you had actually are obsolete when it comes to, like, how do you deal with family asylum issues versus individual that were coming. I mean, this is they are gaming the system a little bit, are they not?
I think that's a fair statement. Migrants and the smugglers who they pay understand our enforcement policies, and they understand ways around our enforcement policies very clearly. But simply building a wall for the sake of building a wall is not the answer. You ask border security experts, and I did for 3 years constantly, what more do we need? They will tell you more surveillance, more boats, more planes, more roads, more lights, more vehicles, more planes, perhaps more Border Patrol agents, or wall in places where we need to fortify it along the southern border. We actually already have a wall built pursuant to the Secure Fence Act of 2006. This
is my frustration here. This is like the way you just described it, and frankly, the way I know of what, we're not far away here. It feels like we're in a symbolic moment. At what point, you're dealing with, he's taken hostages. You may, at some point, do Democrats have to deal with the hostage taker?
I wouldn't put it like that.
I understand why they don't want to deal with them now. They're like, hey, you took hostages. We're not going to do this.
As the former Secretary of Homeland Security, familiar with what is required on our border and familiar with all the different things we have on our border, and as a lawyer who has negotiated all kinds of complicated deals, I look at this and I say to myself, if we could just extract out of this all of the emotion and the politics, 2 good lawyers who are good wordsmiths could fix this in 45 minutes, literally.
As the president said last night, 45 minutes.
For example, there's fence, there's wall, there's steel wall, there's concrete wall, there's ballard fence, there's vehicle fence, there's pedestrian fence.
You didn't even need the thesaurus.
When does something become a fence versus a wall?
Right.
And, you know, I took a little bit of comfort from what the president said last night because he used the phrase border security more than he did wall.
Yeah.
Signaling perhaps, or at least those who wrote the document for him, signaling perhaps that there might be some compromise out there under the general rubric of border security.
Do you worry that maybe some Democrats are getting so caught up in trying to deny him his wall that suddenly they've decided a fence is just like a wall and we can't support that either?
I worry that both sides are becoming so entrenched in their stated positions that we are overlooking the larger security issue here, the people we are depending on. I'm going to say this again, the people we are depending on to protect us, land, sea, and air, we are putting under all kinds of stress and anxiety right now because we are not paying them. That's the elephant in the room.
There's one other thing that it could take a whole other segment to go down, but which is the central problem is in Central America.
Yes.
What can the United States, what should the United States do? There are some that are saying, hey, those guys got to deal with their issues. But obviously this is suddenly a problem for us. What should we do to help the neighborhood?
Well, there are a number of things. First, there are always ways we can do more to secure our own border. And I also believe we need more immigration judges here in this country. But in FY16, we started down the road of making investments in Central America to deal with the poverty and violence. The Congress appropriated $750 million, and the Congress since then has been doing the same, but that's been going in the wrong direction. It's been going down, not up.
But there's a lot of distrust of those leaders of some of those countries. That's the problem, right?
Clearly, and there are ways to do this with strings attached that can have some effect. And I've actually been told by people who I think are in the know that the limited money we've invested so far is actually making a bit of a difference. But the smugglers, and the word going around in Central America right now is, hey, make a run for it. And so what we're doing right now is plainly not working. And there are ways to deal with it, in my view. Now that I'm a private citizen, I get to look at this with a little bit of perspective and distance. But there are ways to solve this problem.
Let's hope that some people that are in the moment can actually step back and look at it with perspective and distance. That seems to be something that is lost here in this town. Jay Johnson, good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.